Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Access to Capital panel discussion.
Good morning.
I'm glad you're here. I would like to thank our sponsors, Capital Bank and Rockville Economic Development, Inc. Our moderator today is Laura Nash. She's a relationship manager at West Financial Services, serving business owners, high net worth families, especially women in transition. Laura is also the chair of our board this year. Without further ado, Laura.
Thank you, Margie.
Right. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
We're glad to see you. We're going to have a very interesting and informative panel discussion this morning. So just wanted to kind of get a sense, do we have any startup businesses in the audience today? Okay, great. We've got a few. And anyone who has a business that they've owned for over 5 years? All right, terrific. So we have a wide range of business owners, which is great to see. It's always nice to know who's in the audience, so we know who we're talking to. So the way this morning is going to work is we're going to first talk about accessing funding with the 3 gentlemen on the left of the panel. And then we're going to talk about grants with the 2 ladies on the other end. So we'll talk for a while, and at the end, we're going to save some time for Q&A. So if you have questions, please save them for the end. If for any reason we don't get to them, you're more than welcome to speak individually with each of the panelists at the end of the presentation this morning. So let me go ahead and introduce our panelists. On the end, on the left, we have Horatio Chacon from Capital Bank. He's a relationship manager whose work is focused on the commercial and industrial sector of commercial lending. He specializes in lending money for commercial purposes, such as funding business expansion. Next, we have Lebo Soon. He's the marketing and outreach team supervisor at the U.S. Small Business Administration. He works closely with their portfolio of preferred lenders in the Washington, D.C. area. And he also does a lot with promoting the Small Business Administration's business counseling, training, and entrepreneurial support programs. And last but not least, we have Michael Clark. He's the Senior Vice President of Business Development with AR Funding. He's been there for 37 years, or has worked in the financial sector for 37 years with businesses that engage with the federal government. He's also well steeped in the differences between lending and subsequent structure of effective lending programs. So with our panelists, we have an immense amount of knowledge, experience, and resources. So with that, let's go ahead and start with Horatio. And basically, can you share with us, how do you help small businesses who need capital to fund their businesses? I mean, that's why we're all here. We know that the economic environment is a little challenging now. And so can you share with us, what recommendations or how, specifically you can help small businesses get more funding?
Sure. Good morning, everybody. So what when I talk to folks, one thing I try to do is just get their background and just understand their business and see what their needs will be. One of the challenges that when I'm talking to business owners is making sure that they have their financials in line. So my recommendation would be is have your financial statements ready to go when you are talking to a banker, and that would include 2-3 years of historical tax returns, CPA prepared financials statements, a interim statement. So for example, in 2023, if you have something that runs through July 31st, that would be very helpful. And then also if you have projections on where you see your business going for the rest of the year and into 2024, that would be very helpful too. And why you think those numbers are going to happen.
Wonderful, thank you. All right, Lebo, what recommendations do you have for our audience as far as suggestions on how to access capital funding?
Yes, good morning. Most of the time SBA, small business reach out to SBA and they ask for loan. And what I tell them is that you have to know the SBA product and how the SBA loan works. SBA is one of the funding option. It may or may not be the best option for the business owners or the borrower. So know all your options before you commit. And I'm here to represent SBA, so I'll tell you about SBA loan. SBA doesn't do direct lending. SBA provided loan product and we guarantee the product. The money is going to come from your bank, your local lender. So SBA only come into the picture in the worst case scenario, and we guarantee the lender the funding amount. So that's a starter just to understand the SBA product.
So with the SBA products, then should someone first research the products before talking to a bank, or how does that work?
You can also learn about SBA product on the SBA website. Our resource partners and many of the SBA lenders, and they will educate you, they will prepare you. But in case actually the best step, the first step is talk to a resource partner to learn about SBA, to learn about all your financial options, prepare your financial document. So you put the best step forward before you even talk to a lender. So I know we have on the panel, we have our SBA resource partner, and that's one of our resource partners to talk to.
Wonderful, thank you. All right, Michael, over to you.
Good morning. It's pretty neat how they have us in order here, the cheapest money to the expensive money. So, what my company, AR Funding, does is we're looking at accounts receivables as our collateral. All the small, I look at small businesses all the way up to medium-sized businesses, and what Horatio was saying is the exact same thing. Got to get to know, the business owner and what they're looking for. But at the end of the day, startups are getting a little difficult. I mean, I do startups, but most of the startups have been around for about a year and a half, maybe 2 years. And but now, I've talked to a lot of startups now. Oh, they just got their name like 2 months ago, and they're doing a nursing staffing, and oh my gosh, it's just gets hairy, I would have to say. But I've worked with, they have the knowledge as a business owner, and I can't train them, but I can assist them to do that because I've been doing this for 37 years in financing, so it's become I could be a business consultant at the same time. But a lot of my referrals come from banks and CPA firms, and I'm a temporary band-aid for small businesses so they can get their act together. It's kind of like, you're a little ugly, or put some makeup on you, and then we're sending you over to the bank. It's something like that. And I mean, there's more details, what I do, but that's what I do in a short form here.
So Michael, if someone is just starting a business and just getting things kicked off, can they come to you for funding, or do they need to be in business for a while?
No, they can come to me. I mean, I have to, we really have to dig for information because, nothing's happened, and depending, what type of business they're in, services rendered is probably the fastest thing I can do startup because, everyone got their first job, had to wait 2 weeks, for the paycheck. So it's about the same thing when you're starting a service rendered and billing hours. So that right there can take off very quickly. Now, if they're becoming with products and stuff like that, it becomes a little bit more difficult. But the resume of the business owner, I can't have someone that sold shoes to be in IT security. It's just not going to make any sense. for a finance company, put their money into a business like that, and even though the projection says this, but, hopefully, my business owner is trying to be very, true to me and honest to me, kind of thing, because, for my deal, it's not a bank deal. So I'm already looking at risk immediately. So the first thing I'm trying to measure right out of the gates is, the character issue of my business owner.
Wonderful, thank you. Horatio, from Capital Bank's perspective, you talked a little bit earlier about the documentation and other items that a business owner needs to have prepared to come talk to you. What else are you looking for, when you're looking for a business that you can fund? What other requirements do they have to be in business a certain amount of time, certain revenue levels? And also if you can talk about some of the products that you offer, I think that would be helpful.
Okay, sure. Excuse me, everybody. So unfortunately, we do very little startup. That's just the nature of the beast that we're in right now. Banks are risk averters. And, what I always just tell folks is that our return on assets for a profitable bank is less than 2%, which if in the rest of if for every other industry, if you were going to get a 2%, net profit, most of you just would not even bother getting into it. So we always have to have some very identifiable sources of repayment. The most important one is there cash flow to service the debt payments? That can be, it's primarily historical cash flows, and we also look at projections. So if that's available, and if that shows there, what we do is then we go to our secondary source of repayment, and that is what collateral can you offer to support the debt. With small businesses, that could be, it's usually limited to real estate, and that also could include, your personal real estate. So your personal residence is very much something that we look at when we look at financing. We also look at, let me go back to if there's no secondary source of repayment or something that we can't get comfortable with. That's when we approach the SBA. If we feel comfortable with cash flow, but we just feel that there's not enough secondary source of repayment, that's what we will say, okay, maybe this could be a good candidate for an SBA type loan. And then we will pursue that. We also look at the individuals, the principals / owners' credit, their background, and also their economic conditions in the industry.
Can you talk a little bit more about how you've worked with SBA on funding?
Absolutely. So what we do is that we'll approach the SBA. We do a lot of the underwriting ourselves. There is documentation that needs to be completed, and unfortunately, that's just the nature of the beast these days. There is a lot of compliance that needs to be done before an application can be submitted to SBA. And what we'll do is that since we are now a PDP approved lender, a lot of times what we'll do is that we will go up to the SBA and say, hey, we're doing this. Here's the documentation if you guys want to see it. And then we will close the loan with the SBA loan. One thing that is that I need to make you guys aware of, SBA loans do come with a price, so they are expensive. So when I talk to folks, it's one of the first things I tell them. I said, loans these days are not cheap. If it's going to involve real estate, it could be anywhere from 4 to 6% of the purchase price, sometimes even higher if you have any environmental issues with the property. Same thing with SBA loans. SBA loans, what are the fees that are normally charged? About 2%?
2 or 3% over the prime.
2 or 3% over the prime rate. And also the closing costs, there could be tens of thousands of dollars. I recently worked on a $3 million SBA loan for an asset bank loan, and the closing costs were $71,000. So it's expensive.
Thank you.
Question back here.
Steve?
So what differentiates, excuse me, what differentiates somebody who goes to the bank for a loan, to your bank for a loan, and then where do you convert it and say, we're going to go SBA? Like, if someone comes to you as a business owner or they're buying a business, what point do you say, the bank say, we don't take this because of X, Y, Z, we're gonna move it to SBA?
After we do the analysis, and really it's a credit analysis, if we're comfortable with the cash flow, and we say, you know, the cash flow here to support the debt. We just are not comfortable with the collateral. Maybe as the collateral, they're offering just inventory. Maybe they're also offering their personal residence, but there's no equity in their personal residence. That's when we'll approach the SBA and say, you know, this could be a good SBA candidate.
Nebo, can you talk a little bit about other resources from the SBA perspective, whether it's on funding or other resources that people may not be aware of that SBA offers that can help them grow their business?
Yep. So before I talk about the SBA microloans, I want to say that SBA loan can be used for startup business. However, SBA loan is a loan product, so we work with the lenders, and there has to be a credit policy overlap, and the lenders have to be willing to take that risk to work with the startup. And you know, this is something that a borrower may need to shop around and compare or find the best lender they can work with. It's not going to be easy to find a startup business, but SBA loan can be used for startup business. For most small business, most of startup business are not ready for a commercial loan, or they're not bankable because they're startup. So SBA has a product called micro lender or micro loan. The micro lenders are community-based, non-for-profit business, and they are using SBA money or government-funded money. They do the underwriting, they set the interest rate, and but they're also on the hook for this money. So they provide technical assistance to the business. They set the terms, in the condition of the loan, and if the loan goes in default, they have to. They're responsible to pay the money back to the government, and the maximum amount is $50,000. The interest rate could be very high because they're taking on the risk, but they want to see the business success, so they provide technical assistance. That's one of the product best for startup business.
How do you go about finding a micro lender?
Yes, there are about 4 or 5 micro lenders in the greater Washington DC area, and they're on the SBA website. And you can also email me afterward, and I can send you the list.
All right, great, thank you. So Michael, can you talk a little bit more?
Can you define technical assistance, please?
Yeah, so technical assistance is in the form of counseling, training, long-term training, or one-on-one mentoring, and usually specific about your business. It could be marketing strategy, it could be financial, it could be managing your budget, it could be about HR management, those kinds of things.
Laura, may I?
Sure.
One of our signature programs at the Rockville Economic Development is the Maryland Women's Business Center, which is an SBA partner that Lebo is talking about. and then the SBDCs or SCORE would be other ones. But if you, in Rockville, we're located here and we also serve Frederick, Montgomery, Prince George's and Howard County. If you want to come down, have one-on-one business counseling, if you want to solve a problem with your business, we're here. It's government funded, so it's a free service. Please take a card. And even though we're called the Maryland Women's Business Center, we serve people of all genders. So we're that initial starting point. You know, if you need to put together your finances, if you need to put together a business plan, we'll help you do all of that.
Thank you. So for those who don't know, that is Cindy Rovarde. She's the Chief Executive Officer of the Rockville Economic Development, Inc., also called READY. And she works with a lot of businesses locally and helps Rockville to prosper and provides many economic opportunities. So thank you, Cindy. And let me then go ahead and just introduce Jan Abram from WorkSource Montgomery. She's the business development manager at WorkSource Montgomery, engaging with businesses and providing different solutions for over 30 years. So thank you for chiming in, and we will talk about some other things shortly, but thank you for making that connection because it's an important one. I know for small businesses, it's not always easy to know where to go. There could be lots of resources, but it's always nice to have some assistance in getting directed. So thank you. So Michael, what other tips can you share with us? You know, when should someone consider coming to you? What's your process? What else can you do to share about providing funding?
So they've talked to Horatio. They spoke to Mo, and you know they've expressed that they have no interest in their business right now, and you should talk to AR Funding. So I mean, in a brief discussion with the the business owner, depending where they are in their life or their business. I mean, I see startups, I see deals that have been kicked out of the bank. I've seen deals that just was bankable and it was purchased and it's not bankable, and I mean, so I've seen everything, let me tell you. So and so the risk is now for me to get my arms around the collateral, which is the accounts receivables. So a brief discussion with the business owner, and if I can get a account receivable aging and accounts payables aging, I can propose on the deal. And if my prospect likes my proposal, I just need the rest of the financial package, and I can probably fund in 5 to 7 working days.
It's pretty fast.
Yeah, that's if there's no liens on the business, because that becomes that's a third party thing that it's out of my control.
So we talked a little earlier about the cost of these loans, and some of them being a couple of percentage points over prime. Can you give us a sense or a range when someone comes to you, what they could be looking at potentially?
Well, so I, buy and discount the receivables so it gets me around the usury loss, but hell, now credit card be 29.99. So I'm now cheaper than a credit card. So, before it was like 24.99. So that credit card's gone. So if I want to, compare oranges and oranges and figure out the rates for my clients, I can run from now, since rates are up, I'm around like 13 all in as my lowest, but that's going as my highest, volume client, which is, revenue between 60 and 75 million a year, and I can go high as 27%, around in there.
Thank you for sharing that. I think it's helpful to provide perspective. Go ahead.
So, as far as the parameters for the types of support that you give, if I'm a brand new business, I started like the day before yesterday, but I have a series of POs from somebody super reputable like the NIH or Department of Labor. Is that something that you would loan against, or is
no? Because it's not a accounts receivable, because I'm not, you have to look at that. I'm looking at a completed 100% receivable, because You know,
Well,
your.
no, I'm sorry, a completed PO, it's like, they've actually documented that they owe me the money, they just haven't given it to me yet, and I gotta wait 90 days or whatever.
Okay, if you're invoicing and, I can verify it and, of course, if it's government credit checks out.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I can redirect the payment to AR funding, I can fund up to 90%.
Even if it's completely brand new.
Yeah.
Okay.
Another question?
Yeah, Laura, I just wanted to make a comment, the cost of capital is really irrelevant on a startup, and I'll just give you an example, so in Mike's line, and I've been Mike and I've been a banker, and the difference is Mike is what's at the front. And she and a banker looks in the mirror as far as compatibility and technology have come up with years. But in Mike's business, I'll go to your company. If you have 20% margins, just as a round number on a sale, Mike's gonna charge you 2% a month to fund that, right? So that 20%, you get paid in 30 days and now 15%. So if it's $1 million purchase order, right? You make $200,000, Mike's charge 20,000 to fund that. So you made $180,000. So the cost of the money, if you have margin in your business, you take Mike's money all day long, twice on Sunday, until you don't need it anymore. It's rented. Money is rented. Use it when you need it. So cheap money is not the way to go, in a lot of places on a growth curve. Because you have to have margin, right? If your margin can justify it at 2% a month, everybody multiply that by 12, that's 24% APR. It sounds expensive, but if you can make money at 2% a month, take it all in. And that's what it is.
Thank you. Go ahead.
This might be similar scenarios to this. So I live in Rockville, most of my neighbors are retired. And then, about to retire, they're looking for to sell their business because their kids doesn't want their business. I was thinking like, hey, I live in Rockville, the business in Rockville, why not buy their business? So I don't have any business, I don't own a company, I don't have nothing. With your ground leader approach to, and they have a account payable, account receivable.
So when it comes down to, doing a risky deal. Now we're looking at, the business owner, which you're not the business owner, and you're trying to be the business owner. So how much skin do you have in the game? So you would have to purchase, the company with some of your own money. And then we can look at, some of the AR, to follow up a purchase with a note at the very end of the so many years to the business owner. I mean, I've seen it, it doesn't work a lot because I know my credit committee, which I'm 33% of underwriting, they're gonna look at, we're taking the cash flow out of the business, especially if it's a services render company. It's really gonna devastate, making payroll. So.
So
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just had a question to clarify. When you said it's in the 27th, is that APR or is that first 30 days of like the daily rate after that? Or
No, that's it. I was comparing, oranges to orange. So that's,
Okay, gotcha.
like comparing with the bank, type of thing. So.
Steve?
So, Capital Bank just, funded the sale and purchase of, family business that we had. And that was the best money. An employee decided to buy it. Capital Bank looked at the cash flow of the business, determined that it was worth it, but then they secured it with the SBA. So the money, of course, was more expensive than if it was just the bank. But at the end of the day, Capital Bank and SBA did phenomenal for the sale of his business and put the transaction together for a gentleman who was an employee who didn't have a lot of assets. He had a lot of equity at a home, but not a lot of equity. So it does work when the business, has the cash, historical cash to support it, and the future financial, you can show how it's going to continue to make business and pay it back.
Thank you. All good feedback. Cindy, do you want to share a little bit about funding sources? We'll talk about grants in a few minutes, but other suggestions that you may have?
As far as actual lending, we don't do that at Ready. We do run a couple incentive programs, which we'll talk about, but we will help your business get in a position to be able to talk to the bank.
Okay, great. Can you talk a little bit more about that then, how you help businesses, both startups as well as businesses that have been around for 5 or more years?
Sure. So our organization does two main programs. One is economic development, which we do for the city of Rockville. And that's traditional economic development. We help people find locations, where to start their business. We help them through permitting. We assist them finding the resources they need. If they need to solve a problem with, the health department, we figure out who the right person to talk to is, and we try to move that sort of thing along. Very similar to how Margie helps chamber members when they get stuck with the system. Our website also has a great deal of information that you may need for your business on the demographics, on the market, on the assets for the area. We will help a business who's coming here explain to their employees what there is to do and see here. We can help people get connected with residential brokers, that sort of thing. So we're here to really help facilitate businesses who want to come to Rockville or who want to grow in Rockville. Now, the Maryland Women's Business Center is an SBA certified program, and that is a wider geographic region. So we're in the capital region of Maryland, which was Frederick, Montgomery, Prince George's, and Howard County. And we have trained business consultants who we use this growth wheel system. So they're all trained in growth wheel that looks from a 360 perspective at all the aspects of a small business owner would need to go through to really understand how to run their business. And then they can work with the business counselor one-on-one on the things that they're trying to solve at that moment, which may be a marketing plan, it may be a business plan, getting the paperwork together for a lender. Then we also have a number of different workshop series. So if you go on the Maryland WBC.org website, that has all of the calendar for what the Women's Business Center is putting together. And so hopefully, look at all those resources, and we're here to help you navigate it. All the resources that are available in this area, the small businesses, are overwhelming. I think that's the feedback we get from everybody who starts to try to figure out what to do. So the best thing to do is to call and we'll help. If we're not the right organization, we'll help find the right organization. I almost was talking to Montgomery College has a great entrepreneurship program as well. There's a lot of different avenues to figuring out how to get to the next step.
I love how you said to call us. There are so few places you can call anymore and get someone on the phone. So thank you for sharing that. And I hope everyone else heard that as well. So call ready too if you have questions. Jan, can you share a little bit about Workforce Montgomery and how you help local businesses?
Yes, thank you. So I'm with Workforce Montgomery, and just to give you a little bit of information on us, we are a nonprofit. We are closely aligned with the state, and the state, which has a website called Maryland Workforce Exchange. And to kind of piggyback on what Cindy said, is when you go to Maryland Workforce Exchange, there's tons of information you can find, but one important information, especially for startups, is you can look at all sorts of labor statistics and see what the labor market is like in your industry, etc. So I did just want to kind of piggyback on what Cindy said, but what we provide is we have like a huge, profile as far as we provide grants. And the big grant is called the Grow Grant. It's for businesses that were established before March 2020. And it's for businesses, you are eligible if you hire folks that are like underemployed or unemployed through Maryland Workforce Exchange. There's tons of resumes out there, but you can get up to $50,000 per business. If you have more than one location, it could be each location. And it's $2,500 for part-time employees and $5,000 for full-time employees. It's a great way to get some, again, you're helping people get employed, etc. We've helped many businesses. There's a finite amount of money in that grant. So, when it's turned off, it's turned off. But it helps to subsidize the cost of training and hiring. And and again, I don't know if I said they need to be Montgomery County residents, as well as the business needs to be Montgomery County So, and then you get the money up front, so it's one-time lump sum. The other two, things, which I'm not gonna go into in detail, but we do provide assistance with training. So for your current, employees, we have something called incumbent worker training. And, I can go into that further with you on an individual basis, and then, on the job training, and that's also through WIO, which is, you would find, candidates through Maryland Workforce Exchange. The key for, some of this, the on-the-job training is, it needs to be from in-demand industries. And what is in-demand industry? It's IT, cyber, construction, retail, hospitality. And that's what's been, determined by Montgomery County as an in-demand industry. So again, I can go into these more detail. The other thing we do is we have job fairs. We can do it at your site, we can do it at our site. Like 2 to 3, like every month. As a matter of fact, after this, I'm going to a job fair with the Park Service. So nothing's out of reach, and we also help guide you. If you're not sure where to turn, like Cindy does, we can help guide you. And we do pick up the phone. I pick up the phone. I do team calls. I can meet you for a cup of coffee. So there's a lot of information out there. We have an incredible progressive president right now, Anthony Featherstone, and he's done so many wonderful things with our organization. So feel free to connect with me, and got business cards, but if you have any questions, happy to answer. As I said, we've got a lot of money to assist you with training, and delighted to be here, so thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Cindy, you want to talk about some of your incentive programs?
Sure. So the city of Rockville funds a couple of programs that we administer. One is called the Move Expansion Grant. So if you are coming into Rockville for the first time, it would be a move grant, you're moving in. And it pairs with a move grant with the county. So it's each of us would fund about $4 a square foot up to a certain cap. I think ours is 40,000, and then I'm not quite sure what the county cap is, but you can get both of those at the same time if you're new to our jurisdiction. An expansion grant in Rockville allows a business who wants to expand their square footage to also get another $4 a square foot within that. So if somebody is interested in that, we can walk through how you apply for that incentive program. The other program that we have is called the Small Business Impact Fund. And that originally started in the Twin Brook area and town center area, areas that were near Metro, but it's been expanded to the full city. And so it's for local businesses, not chains. Although, if it's a very local chain, we can talk about it. And it's really to help the business move to the next level with the project. So we're not helping to pay rent or general operating costs, that kind of thing. It's, do you need a POS system that will help you get to being able to operate more efficiently and eventually hire more employees. So it's really to strengthen our economy. I would also like to say that a couple of our programs through the Maryland Women's Business Center do use the micro lenders that Lebo was talking about. So we have an incubator for family-owned childcare businesses. So if you have up to 8 children in your home and you're running that business, you can go through our incubator program, and at the end, we partner with one of the micro lenders who will help that new business, which is maybe not an in-demand business, but it's a very key business in our region. We need to have more childcare to help people get back to work. That it helps them get the essential supplies and things that they need to start that business. So that's sort of some of the range of what we do.
Wonderful. So it's great to hear that there are different programs that are offered for both hiring and training, as well as for getting businesses started. We definitely have a lot of wonderful resources. So let me come back again to Mauricio. What else can you share if you were a business and looking to grow? What else would you look to do at this point as far as financial resources?
Well, before I say that, I just want to say that you notice that it's from most optimistic and least optimistic. I don't know if anybody else has noticed that, but I noticed that immediately. To answer your question is that there are a number of resources that folks can go to. Remy's a good one. Janet, they have a great program. Montgomery County has a great program. Montgomery College, that's probably one of the best that I've come across. But when I say back to Montgomery County Green Bank is a great source. If you guys have not gone to the website, I recommend that you go in there, because they have some really cool products in there that will, if we partner with them, we'll do participation loans for example, and they will buy down my interest rate. So right now, let's say at prime, I'm lending money at 8.5%. If you were going to do some kind of a green initiative, they will buy down my interest rate, and the overall interest rate to the borrower may be somewhere 5.5%, 6%. And that could be up to 12 years. So just keep that in mind, that all the different resources here. But to answer your question, I would just say, I have this little sheet that I put up here, which is not complete because this is going to be my notes. But just try to get your ducks in a row and try to get your financials in place before you talk to anybody. I think that's very important, because the first question is going to be asked is, tell me about yourself. And if you're like me, you'll do. I know I do a lot of ahs before I start talking. So just make sure that you have a good response to what your business does and the strengths that you bring to that business.
Great, thank you. So it sounds like it's really important to have those financial documents, a business plan, forecasting out where your business is going, as well as all the financials. And thank you for mentioning the Green Bank. It's wonderful to hear about another resource. Lebo, can you talk about any other entrepreneur programs at the SBA that may be helpful for our audience?
Yes, sure. So now you have the knowledge to start a business or to run existing business. You know your options to fund your business with a bank or with SBA guarantee option. You're looking for customers. SBA can help you sell your product to the federal government if you have a product or service that U.S. federal government can use. So SBA has different contracting support program, different certificate. It could be women-owned, veteran-owned, small disadvantaged business, and AA business development program or hub zone. And one business can qualify for more than one certificate. So the U.S. federal government is the largest largest customer of. Every year, there's over $500 billion of money spent on small business. 23% is set aside for small business. And if you have, so at SBA, the U.S. government does have the IT workforce. So a lot of the IT service are outsourced. There's no construction workforce besides the Army Corps of Engineer and the CV. So construction and IT service are heavily contract to small business. Other small business, if you offer your service to local government, school district, and we can also help you with that. We partner with the PTAC, formerly known as PTAC. I think they changed their name to APAC Accelerator. So they help small business getting contracts.
Wonderful, thank you. And Michael, other tips you can offer or any other suggestions?
Well, when you get down to me, it becomes, a lot difficult, because, startup. But, not just looking to start, but looking at other businesses that have been around for a while. Especially family-owned business, this is, difficult. Because they're paying their father to sit in this office, the aunt over here, and you're trying to figure out what they do. And, for me being a finance company, they're gonna realize in the cost. That, okay, the father does not belong here anymore, the aunt, you know, so that downsizing, I mean, the banker has a hard time, you know, telling that to a business, but I don't. So when I start finding out these things, while I look at the financials and payroll and stuff like that, it becomes, but, you know. And how did it get that way? You know, I know it's a family tie thing, but, you know, I know a lot of consultants, especially ex-CFOs, especially I'm looking at a lot of government contractors in this marketplace. So there's a lot of CFOs that are now, you know, running their small little consultant business and things like that nature that they can help out, because there's some small businesses that, you know, shouldn't even have a CFO, you know. Yeah, I don't know what the magic number is. I mean, I think it's between, you know, I don't know, 15 and 20 million in annual sales. Maybe it's time to get a, you know, full-time, but you can think, but that's how you can hire part-time CFOs, and most of them calculate the hours per month on the annual sales. And at least on the services rendered, you know, for a CFO type of thing. And then, you know, I've noticed that some my small business have like a huge CPA firm, which is nice, you know, if you're going to a bank, because a bank likes to see a recognized, you know, CPA firm, but you can use a small CPA firm when you first start out. It's, you know, I mean, trying to cut the, you know, the indirect costs down, you know, because my cost is, you know, driving it. But like Glenn said in the back, though, if you have high gross profit, you know, get around my rates, high gross profit margins, you know, are great. To use my financing, tremendous growth is a big thing, and you don't have to use me all the time. So I have clients that are now, you know, now the lifetime of my clients are staying a little longer than normal, which is, you know, unusual. So I mean, I've got clients now are averaging about 3 years in my financing, you know, compared to used to be 12 months, 18 months, you know, turnover, but we're staying 3 years to 5 years, you know, so it's very, you know, because of the, you know, I think we turned off the fees when you're not using us, you know, so I made it, you know, so they could stay with us.
And if I could add also, he's a lot easier to deal with than me.
Well, I mean, I'm not, yeah, right. Yeah.
Disagree.
Yeah, well, I mean, because, you know, he's looking for the cash flow, you know, the payback. Eventually I am, but I'm looking at how's the money bleeding out of the business, you know, before I finance. Because if it's going to continue and I see, you know, the projected days at 6 months, I'm gonna put you out of business in 3 months. So we have to fix that, you know, what's the projections and what did you do, you know, to fix that I can now start financing you.
Wonderful, wonderful. So how would one go about, let's say they've spoken to you, Michael, and for whatever reason, it's not gonna work out, but they wanna talk to other funding companies?
Yeah, I mean, my competition, I mean, we're not regulated, but you know, if I have a major issue with the deal, and this is the only way I would turn down the deal, is that I can't do construction because of progress billing, it's not completed invoice, and medical, dealing with the insurance company, I can't assign the receivables and, you know, the dilution on that. So those are 2 areas that I can finance. And, you know, am I skeptical by talking to the business owner and I don't think he or she is a good character? That's very rare. Until the business is going so far in the dumpster that, you know, any business owner is going to do what they have to do to save the business. And before that happens, we've always told our business owner, hey, talk to us, but just like the bank does, you know, when the bank is looking for the financials, you know, the beginning of the following year, and why aren't they sending it? They maybe had some issues, you know, back in May, you know, June of the year, and they should have discussed it, you know, with the loan officer. So communication is the main thing, and my clients, you know, if, you know, and that's, you know, they're already there and something could happen, because, you know, he's saying that he's making, you know, 2%. You know, my company has 2% set aside for failure. You know, so, I mean, that's the nature of my financing, you know, it's the risk taking.
Yes, thank you. Makes sense. So let's go ahead with some closing comments. Cindy, any closing comments, thoughts?
Yeah, it's not exactly capital, but as I was thinking about this and that there are some new startups here, understanding your market is really key. Especially when you're telling the story of, you know, reasonable projections of what you think would be coming into the business. And one of the resources you may not be aware of is the Montgomery County Library System has a number of software programs that help you really dive into the market analysis, and the library staff or our staff can help you do that. So that is, I think, another great resource.
Thank you. Jan?
I'll leave with you a couple things. I did bring handouts on the grant, so if you're interested on that, feel free to come and get one. And then also to talk about the green initiative. We do have a job fair. We do not charge for our job fairs. So, you know, a lot of organizations do, or you have to rent a hotel. We don't charge anything, but we went on the 19th for, you know, companies that want to participate that are IT or green focused. So if that's of interest to you, please also feel free to reach out to me. And then we have a general one in October. But again, you know, a lot of the services we provide, we don't charge for our service at all. And then, you know, again, we have grants and we help you with training. So we provide you money. You know, a lot of times you have to also share it with us, the cost, but you know, we're just a great resource. So thank you.
Thank you. Michael, any closing thoughts?
Yeah, the only thing I have to say is that, you know, I have a sheet up here with the bullet points thing of stuff that we've talked about with what AR funding can provide for small to medium-sized businesses in the marketplace. And one thing is that, you know, if you need money yesterday, you're my client because I can move very quickly.
Thank you. Lebo?
Yes, so our office covers the greater capital region. And we have resource partner all over this area, DC, Montgomery, Northern Virginia. So, and we help small business in all stage of business. You start up, you know, or you're selling your business, your exit strategy. So you can connect with SBA, we can connect you with the local resource partner. So you know the local grant availabilities that we wouldn't know. There are a lot of resources beyond the federal government.
Thank you. Alicia?
Don't take no for an answer. There are a number of resources that you can approach that will give you some insight that may be able to guide you to where you may be able to get what you need. And if one bank says no, or one finance company says no, just approach another one. Like yourselves, they may have different expertise. So.
Thank you. All great suggestions. I know I learned a lot today. Do we have any other questions from the audience?
I have a question for Horatio. With respect to the financial statements that applicants provide you, do you expect them to include the payback of the loan or the funding that they're asking you for in the projections? Or is that the bank's job to see whether the cash flow of the business without the projections can pay back the loan?
We'll do that. Yeah, we'll take care of that part. Because there are some other parts that we add back. You know, we add back depreciation. We do it on a global. So we'll look at the owner's salary and see, you know, what excess cash flow he may be able to use as, you know, to cut back and his salary. So that's something we'll do.
I think it's very important to add that you add back interest, right? So doing business with money, business with money, more expensive. I'm trying to get to the bank, you take that interest expense to give you credit back for what was made there. Where's our sort of program when we're there, right? Really important point.
Any other questions? Anyone else want to share a success story or how you've gone about getting funding or how you funded your business? All right, I didn't want, oh, go ahead, Steve.
Oh, workforce is absolutely amazing. I work with Michelle there.
Yes.
And anybody who needs employees, it's really hard to find great people. And they've been a database for us to be able to find people. So if anybody needs people, it's absolutely worth getting.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Joey?
When I was in Bank of America HR, I used your company. It was great. It cut my hiring down almost by 50%. So it was speed process and everyone was great. Great retention as well. So,
Thank you.
and I know an excellent banker, lender or whatever for ratio. So
Non-biased, of course. Margie?
I have one question. I work with a lot of businesses and they need help. They're not at their pre-COVID phase yet. They're really hurting. And entrepreneurs do not like to tell people when they're in trouble until it's too late. Just like what we saw with True Respite. All of a sudden they're on Facebook and saying, we're closing our doors. Nobody ever thought they were in trouble. So I understand entrepreneurs don't want to come and ask for help. But then, you know, there's so many resources that we could offer a business. When should they come and ask for help?
In my opinion, it should be a regular, preventive, activity. They should work with a counselor or mentor regularly, just for regular checkup.
Which we provide, yes.
Or if they're beyond that, there's association called the TMA, the Turnaround Management Association. You know, there are consultants that come in and take a look at the business and why is it failing until it fails or before it fails.
Is it a prevention service the government?
No, it's it's like consultants, they charge per hour. They come in. And most of the time, it's family orientated, that's where, they start stripping the family members away.
Margie, I could say a lot of business owners, they don't have financial advisors like Laura. They have a bank, but they don't have a banker. A lot of times I have sent a ton of people to micro lenders, to other lenders. There's so many resources in here. I know great payroll company is great merchant service. I have so many resources I can send people to, but they never reach out. When you send out the information about the grants, I send that out to all the business owners I knew. So they never asked for the resource. I mean, how many people I had take advantage of the grants during COVID, get computers and things, some little extra working capital, a little $3,000, $5,000 work because it was communication. So it's important to me to have a banker and a financial advisor in that piece as well.
Steve?
And just as an FYI, I mean, even though we're a payroll company, we have lenders that cover payroll for that period of time. So we have businesses that have approached us and said, we need to run payroll, but we can't cover payroll. And by law, you have to run payroll. You can't not pay your employees. And we've actually connected them with micro lenders and we're able to fund the payroll. And then just get that return back very quickly.
Great, thank you. And Cindy, can you clarify, since the question came up, as far as providing mentors or advisors, is there any cost to that?
Not with the SBA providers. So the one-on-one business counseling is free, and we do something called a bail system. So for every client, we are encouraging them to get the banker, the attorney, the insurance company, and lawyer. Yeah, well, attorney and there's another one, accountant is the A. So yes, you need that team of advisors to help you through these things. I mean, nobody knows how to solve all of these things. There's so many complicated rules. I know that even just running Ready, I needed Steve a lot. To navigate, how do I do this? Nobody expects you to understand everything. So I think being that trusted person, so that when somebody can call and ask the questions. I mean, I do have businesses that call for help in restructuring, and you may not know that about them, but yeah, that we're here to help that kind of a thing and get them to the right resource.
Great, thank you. All right, any other questions? All right, we're gonna go ahead and wrap up. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Kyla.
They have business cards up here, so go help yourself with your cards and information.